favorite thing to do anytime. We can do this 365, every day, every second of the day. We're talking quarterbacks, all right? Talking quarterbacks. Everybody loves talking quarterbacks. Hell, Colin Cowherd has made a show just talking about quarterbacks all the time, and that's what we're going to do right here. WinDailySports.com. My name is John Jansen. Follow me at JJansen34. My guest, my co-host on Monday and Wednesdays, Tony Cutillo. Follow him at TCutillo23. And we're going over the best stacks and quarterbacks to get for week 1 of DFS this Sunday. But Tony, quarterbacks, man, it's the best thing to talk about. It's the most wonderful time of the year when I get to talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah, listen to you, most wonderful. You just sound like a Hallmark commercial.
I am, dude. I get all mushy when it comes to NFL. I'm basically just a Hallmark commercial. During
that's all right. That's all right. You don't look like a Hallmark channel, but that's okay. It's all good.
No.
I'll give you
I have
that.
a younger sister, so I've watched enough of it.
Oh, me too. I'm married. Don't forget that. So let's talk about these quarterbacks, because one thing I want to throw out there before we even get a quarterback play, just so everybody knows, it's week 1. All right. So, I mean, to say you have sleepers in week 1, it's really non-existent. This is where you just start who you roll with, who you drafted as your guys, right? And in DFS, you start with the guys who obviously are going to give you points, and you look at the matchup. We're going to look at numbers, obviously, but I'm intrigued just by these top guys, because I'm picking Josh Allen to be an MVP candidate this year. And I want to see, is this going to be the same Josh Allen that we've seen last year and even better? And again, Patrick Mahomes. And one of the most intriguing things, John, is Aaron Rodgers, because do we think he's going to be able to throw 48-5 again? It's very hard for me to believe that he'll have such an elite season back to back.
Yeah. No, then that's definitely fair, because, I mean, he could have a good season, but again, it's having these elite seasons. Not even Tom Brady does it all the time. Peyton Manning didn't do it all the time. It's really hard to have the types of years that only like guys like Rodgers can have and Brady. It's really hard to do that and do it over and over again. So, yeah, I certainly I agree with you there. And week 1, it's kind of figuring out, because we can go back and talk about, last year's defenses and last year's matchups, but it's figuring out, all right, what defenses did get better, what defenses did get worse, So I look at a game, maybe like the Patriots, because Mac Jones, I bet you, is not really that high priced on either DraftKings or FanDuel, so you can get a good price on him, but it's just whether or not you think that turnover capital that the Dolphins were working with last season makes its way into this season, and that's going to be just some of the harder things. So I guess early on, what are defenses that you feel comfortable attacking? Because that's right away, what we have to look at here. Because, it's like you just said, it's not really worth going into, well, you got to put in Aaron Rodgers because he's going to put up 48 touchdowns. No, we'll see at the beginning of the season what it's like. But what matchups are you attacking? What defenses do you feel comfortable attacking?
Well, I think right off the bat, you have to go all in on anybody who plays the Houston Texans, right? I think that's kind of that, right? And again, week 1 matchup, Trevor Lawrence, who's been, listen, there's been a lot of good and bad reviews of Trevor Lawrence. So if any week that he could prove the skeptics wrong, it's going to be this week against the Texans. Now, what I will tell you, John, is on the flip side, is you also want to attack the Jacksonville Jaguars, who their defense is horrendous, and a sneaky play, Tyrod Taylor for 5,300 going up against Jacksonville. Again, I think it's going to be a sloppy game, a lot of points put out through the air. So, again, these are the kind of values you got to look at for DraftKings.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor's, that's one that is intriguing to me, because you are going to get some rushing ability, and you are going to get possibly a touchdown or 2 rushing in the end zone as well. So, there are kind of those avenues for more points, and against the really bad Jacksonville defense. It's one that, again, I think could improve, but I'm not confident week 1 that they're going to make any kind of huge improvement. It's more of a long term. I think Jacksonville can be okay. But right now, yeah, I like Tyrod Taylor, to me, is a really interesting one. And, at least what I want to start with is some of the high-end players, because, Patrick Mahomes is taking on Cleveland. That's a pretty tough defense. Josh Allen's going up against Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's secondary isn't really the same. So it's that's one we maybe could attack. But just out of all the high-end quarterbacks, which one are you going with that you feel good about? I think the easy one for me, and I think everybody else, is Kyler Murray against Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. 7,600. Honestly, I think he's the highest priced quarterback. No, actually, Patrick Mahomes is at 8,100.
Mahomes,
But
yep.
right. But again, you're going to get a lot of, you said it earlier, running ability. And when you're playing DFS, it is very integral to be able to get a guy who's going to do it all because the points come in bunches. And that offense, it's 50-50. But the one thing that's not 50-50 is Kyler Murray. We all know what he's going to give us, right? So you're right. 7,600, one of those. Listen, John, I'm still going Josh Allen because the Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't stop me last year. Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
not the same Pittsburgh team.
right.
Defense, at least. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not the same team. And you're 7,400, which I think is a very, very modest number when we're talking about the MVP, in my opinion, of this year. He has done nothing but excel over the last 3 years. And in year 4, that receiving core is unbelievable in Buffalo. It really is. I don't even think people are talking enough about it. Stephon Diggs having the year that he had last year. We all know, who knows with Cole Beasley if he's going to be able to, not be on COVID lists all year. But you bring Emmanuel Sanders, who's another veteran, crisp route runner, Gabriel Davis, who for my money is a sleeper of the NFL.
He's going to be the number 2. If he's not the number 2 receiver by the end of the season, I'll be shocked. I
completely agree with you. And the thing is, in season long, nobody was drafting him. Right? Nobody was
drafting him a lot. I know. Yeah, you're right.
It's crazy. And they also have a guy, I know we're not, but a guy, Isaiah McKenzie, who can do a lot of trickery when it comes to the offense. But yeah, if you're high-priced quarterbacks, getting back to them, 100% Josh Allen. I will definitely go all in. And I'll tell you, on the other side of that Arizona game, as long as he COVID recovered, Ryan Tannehill, for my money, could be a really, really good week 1 option.
Yeah, Tannehill, because that Arizona defense not any good either. I think, again, there's some pieces I like there. I think Isaiah Simmons going to be even better in year number 2. I just think Arizona had no idea how to actually use a talent like that. And it showed because they really were figuring out by the middle of the season, we don't know what to do, but they were finally starting to put him on the field and just say, do something. And he was fantastic. Budda Baker's good, but yeah, they have a problem at cornerback this year, a big problem at defensive back. So Tannehill, I like that a lot. We do have a lot of guys here in the chat, and thanks for joining us here. WinDailySports.com, all sponsored by the Sharp app. Our guy, Adam, Jay Bryant, Jovan, our guy there, Jovan, over at DraftKings and does some stuff with the gamblers. Well, Tyrod Taylor, Brandon Cooks stack. That would be a low rostered. That would be one that would really, if you do get that, it would be a lot different. And then Ivan agree that Allen is MVP this season. So Joni Jigsaw Cutillo, you got people behind you on that one. What I want to bring up, and this is of course appropriate because we're 2 Philly guys. Jalen Hurts, I have questions about, and I think it's fair to either say that you really like him or that you don't, because look, he was split in the middle last year, and until we see it this year, we have no idea. But I mean, that Atlanta defense is so bad. Would it be worth, because Jalen Hurts was at least able to put up numbers last year, even if, his performances were a little uneven, he still put up a lot of yardage and ran the ball a lot. I mean, against Atlanta at 6,400 over on DraftKings, that's got to be somewhat in play, right? That's a terrible defense.
100%. If there was a week, especially when you look at the next 3 games of the Philadelphia Eagles, if there was a week for you to be all in on Jalen Hurts, this is absolutely the week. This is it. And you talk about those 3 sandwich games, John. We all know New Orleans, Arizona, and Dallas. He goes 23, 42, 28, and that's DraftKings points respectively. So that's a really good haul. Okay, at his number. Now, I think DraftKings knows a little something, because I think his number is a little higher than people may have thought it was going to be at 6,400. So I thought it would have been probably 6,000, maybe even like 5,900, kind of in that same line as, I wouldn't say Jared Goff, but maybe like a Ryan Fitzpatrick or even a Joe Burrow. I wasn't expecting it to be this high. But I'll tell you what, against Atlanta, like you said, they can't stop anybody. They didn't do anything in the all season to rectify that. Nothing. They focused more on offense than they did on defense. So I see this definitely as a Jalen Hurts party or coming out party, because John, one thing I know you'll agree on, even though you may not be all in on the skill set like I am, but the adversity and the professionalism and the maturity of that guy is, I think he's going to come out to prove a little chip on his shoulder in week 1.
Yeah, and look, this game, I think Matt Ryan's going to be able to put up a few points. I know the Eagles' defense is good, but as we talk about all the time with Ridley, Kyle Pitts, there are a couple of mismatches there, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to be really tough to stop. But I think again, everything kind of leads to, I think Jalen Hurts could put up, some big numbers in week 1, and this defense is terrible. Like this Atlanta Falcons defense, if you're concerned about, okay, it's a rookie coach on the road, Jalen Hurts hasn't had too much time to work with these receivers because Jalen Reagor is still new. Devontae Smith, his first game of his NFL career. There's a lot of newness, but the thing is, like, I think it's all worth the risk, I guess, so to say, because the reward is you're playing against Atlanta's defense, and if they do even okay, that means pretty much almost 30 points for this Eagles offense, and likely a close to 300-yard game passing for Jalen Hurts with 60, 70 yards rushing. That's how bad Atlanta's defense is, that those numbers are absolutely attainable. And I can get that kind of high ceiling at 6,400. To me, just screams absolutely. Now, going into the stacks, that one would be a little bit tougher just because I don't know yet, and we didn't see anything in preseason. All we know is a little bit of training camp, who actually is going to be the guys. Like, I know we could probably do a little mini stack of Hurts, Sanders, and Smith, but even so, I would want to hold back a little bit just because I don't know exactly how Sirianni's offense is going to shake out. It might be a lot of 2 tight ends on the field a lot, and so it might be more Goddard and Hurts than we're even, thinking about. But that one's a little bit stay away just because we don't know how the targets are going to be spread around. What are some stacks that you like, though, heading into this week?
I don't know the price value or the price point of what you're going to pay, because it's going to be pretty high. But one high one is I'm going to go back to Tennessee. Well, I'm talking Tannehill, Henry, and A.J. Brown.
I mean, could you just stack that game singularly? Like, take as many of the players in that game as you can.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. That's the thing, and they're high though. That's the problem. You're going to pay 7+ for Derrick Henry. You're going to play 7+ for AJ Brown, but you're going to get Ryan Tannehill at a feasible number at 58 to 6,000. So it comes down. Now, I'm going to give you a secret, sneaky stack. We're going to go right back to the Houston Texans. And I like these value stacks. Not one of these guys, it's not going to be Brandon Cooks, not even on my list. Tyrod Taylor, number 1, and then pair him up with Phillip Lindsay and Nico Collins. Now, again, and I guarantee you, right, that if that hits, you will win your contest because nobody, John, is going to have that stack.
No. Definitely not. And I want to stay with that game too, because I think you have a potential to stack Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, put him in there, take one of Jones or Chark. I think I'm leaning a little bit more Jones for week 1 because I know Chark's been dealing with a few injuries heading into this season. So I'm leaning more Jones week 1. And James Robinson, he is almost an automatic play for this week, right? Because, he's priced at 6,400 and he is going to be the lead back by an absolute mile. So I think, a Jacksonville stack, but the same thing, it's sort of along the same lines as Houston, because that's a stack that's probably not going to be used too much. It's probably going to be a little bit underpriced, and there's a big reward at the end of it. So I think that game is sneaky because everybody, I think what we were talking about, is going to go Arizona, Tennessee, and just basically try and attack that game as much as they can. But I think you actually have a lot more ways to make things fit, a lot more flexibility, and you maybe don't get guys that are highly rostered in this Jacksonville and Houston game. So I'm with you, since we both like Houston and Jacksonville, that this game is probably a good one that you can find some good stacks with, and I think a lot of great options all over.
I agree. But listen, 32 points per game. That's what the Texans defense gave up against opposing running backs last year in fantasy. So
James Robinson's a must, isn't he?
And don't forget, you mentioned Chark and Jones, but don't leave my boy Laviska Shenault out. I'm telling you. I love Shenault, man. I love him. 5,000. That I'll tell you, 6,400 5,000, and I have to look up what Trevor Lawrence is, but that could be a really, really good play.
Trevor
You know,
Lawrence is
if you look at that.
6,200. He's sandwiched between Kirk Cousins at 6,300 and Ben Roethlisberger at 6,100. Yeah, out of both of those, Kirk Cousins is a little bit intriguing because it's Cincinnati.
Yep.
But Trevor Lawrence, I know, for sure they're going to have to be able to throw the ball in this game to win. He's drafted number 1 overall for a reason. But yeah, I like Laviska. Marvin Jones, though, it surprises me that he's 3,600. He's way, way underpriced in this one. And I think that's going to change. Yeah. So, I mean, to me, if you want to do a little stack of Trevor Lawrence, James Robinson, and Marvin Jones, and I think if you want to fit Laviska Shenault in there, you can and swap out him for Marvin Jones. But I think that's a great start, honestly. So, what are the games that we are avoiding, though? And we could talk about this because we didn't talk about the quarterback situation. I think at least for week 1, I know Justin Herbert could be a little bit tempting at 6,700, even against the defense, but you'll have plenty of opportunities to get Justin Herbert and plenty of opportunities to where he's going to put up a ton of points. Just maybe stay away from him this week. It's not worth it.
I agree. And here's the funny part. Justin Herbert is my starting quarterback in my season-long teams, probably 90% of them. It's all Justin Herbert, right? So obviously I'm not benching Justin Herbert, but we're talking DFS. And from that standpoint, yes, pick your matchups. Another guy, I'm not touching Joe Burrow in week 1. Okay. Number 1, Minnesota. I know their defense is not very good, but I need to see Joe Burrow be able to play and produce before I start to hitch my wagon to my DFS train to Joe Burrow. So that's a game for me that I'm staying away from. Like I said, 5,700 for Joe Burrow. Well, I'd rather pay Ryan Fitzpatrick at 5,500 than go with Joe Burrow at 5,700, only because I don't know what he's going to give you. And then you mentioned Ben Roethlisberger earlier. He was sandwiched between with Trevor Lawrence, 6,100. I'm staying away from that game too, from the Pittsburgh side, because Buffalo has a really good defense. We already know that, and what we seen out of Pittsburgh last year was not very good. And we have to see if they're able, and I know Ben was hurt most of the year, but we have to see if they can rebuild that confidence in that offensive side of the ball. So until I see that, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on those two teams.
Yeah, I definitely am. Ben Roethlisberger, I'm not going to do it. I know I'm probably not going to do. Joe Burrow was the best call, because that's one that you could, almost in the Jalen Hurts sense, like, okay, yeah, there's a little bit of risk here, but it's the Atlanta Falcons defense. Minnesota's defense, I think, improved slightly. It's horrible. It's downright terrible. And especially their secondary, and they can't get any pass rush. But the problem is, you're right. I don't know. Jalen Hurts isn't coming off a major injury. It's just that, I'm not sure of the quality we're going to get of him. But again, worth the risk because it's Atlanta, and even bad quarterbacks are elite against Atlanta. This is different, though. This is Joe Burrow needing to come back from a major knee injury, and he needs to actually get comfortable. That's something that, other quarterbacks don't have to deal with. Jalen Hurts doesn't have to deal with that. There's way too much risk in that, at least for me, that I don't care if it's an advantageous matchup. You want to go against Minnesota and attack their defense. It's not worth it. There's not much. The only player I'd like in the Cincinnati offense would probably be Joe Mixon. And then after that, maybe Tyler Boyd, because Joe Burrow is probably going to play a little bit safe and check down a lot and get rid of the ball quickly. But I just think even Tyler Boyd, I find a little bit of risk with, because I just don't know how the passing offense is going to look, how sharp it's going to be week 1. I think you're 100% right on that. Another one, because I saw somebody say a Darnold Anderson stack, and I like it to a certain degree, but I want to wait. This is another spot where you can just wait, because Joe Brady's offense is set up to have almost any quarterback succeed, but Sam Darnold was awful. You could put that responsibility on Adam Gase all you want. And does he deserve some responsibility for that? Absolutely. But Sam Darnold was bad, and he got into a lot of really bad habits. Does Joe Brady immediately fix all that week 1? I know it's the Jets defense, but Robert Saleh, I want to give a little bit of credit. I think he can improve that Jets defense. There is some talent there to work with. I don't want to go too far in the Darnold Anderson stack and go too far into Carolina, just because Like that's going to need some fixing. Teddy Bridgewater didn't need to be fixed. Teddy Bridgewater was just, what's his ceiling? How good of a quarterback can he be? And we saw in Joe Brady's offense, and he can make even a guy like Teddy Bridgewater outstanding. But I just don't know if that's going to happen immediately with Sam Darnold right away. I'm very concerned about that.
I agree completely. I listen, the best part about DFS is that you can change your team every week. So there's no reason to do any kind of risk, especially in week one. Just like season long, when you draft your studs in DFS, go with what you know, right? Because like you said, year to year, I can't always go by last year because you could have a different team, could be a different culture, could be a different perspective, right? So it's really hard to say, oh, well, last year they weren't really good. Okay, well, you never know. This year they could be good. You have to go by pure talent, right? Pure talent. Now, what I will say, John, is another, now I know we're talking about teams that we're sticking against. I'm going to go with a team for us, okay?
Nice.
Another sneaky value stack of the Cleveland Browns going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, everybody's going to say, oh, you're crazy. You're crazy going into Kansas City. Listen, we watched games last year where Kansas City gave up a ton of points. They're currently ranked 30th against fantasy quarterbacks, 31st against fantasy tight ends, and 23rd against fantasy running backs. So for my money, I look at these prices, John. I see a Baker Mayfield at 5,900, and then you bypass Nick Chubb and you see Kareem Hunt at 5,500, and you see OBJ at 5,400. And then if you want to get really crazy, you can go tight end with a guy like Austin Hooper at 4,000 or David Njoku at 3,500. This is a team that's got a lot of potential. They really do. And I think this could be a really valuable stack. You stack 3 or 4 of those guys, and then you add in some really good studs in other games. If this hits, it's another way to win your league that week.
Yeah, this is maybe a good case study of like good matchups like this, tough matchups. People just tend to, I think, cognizantly like stay away from it because we want advantages. We want ones where at least one side is really bad. And that, the other unit on the end, this offensive unit is going up one of the worst defenses. So we're going to attack this one. But I don't think you need to be scared away from this game for multiple reasons, because you're right. Kansas City's defense is it's not good. At least it's not great, and it's not going to shut down everybody. And this Cleveland offense is good enough that I think they can go into Kansas City and they could perform well. I think Kareem Hunt is a good one. I would like Kareem Hunt probably over Nick Chubb, at least in DFS for this week, because they're going to have to pass the ball. This is going to be a higher scoring game, I think. But I think why everyone gets scared is, Kansas City, Cleveland, they're going to butt heads. It's going to be a clash. But as we know with Kansas City, they win a lot in September. And Patrick Mahomes is sharp in September. So there is a path here, I think, that this one does become a bit of a shootout. We could see both teams close to, or if not in the 30s in this game. Patrick Mahomes' numbers in September are just absurd. 32 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, I think, in the month of September throughout his career, which just absurd. And they don't lose games in the month of September too. But I think we can use that to our advantage, use those numbers, and use also the fact that this Kansas City defense is good. I think Cleveland is in this game, and they make this a very close one. And this could be, especially if you check the projected ownership and what players and games that a lot of people are using for DFS. If there is low ownership and there's maybe a few guys that not everybody's targeting or nobody's targeting this game in general, I wouldn't be too scared from this one. I know there are probably other spots you want to go to. But again, if you see a spot where, I need to be a little bit different and I need to start getting some value, I think this is the game to do it, because everybody's going to be completely bleeping scared off of, well, it's Cleveland, Kansas City, so we can't touch it. It's a good game, or it's two really good teams.
I agree 100%. Because a lot of times we look at the professional level and not the fantasy level, right? We're trying to break down games. We're like, the Kansas City Chiefs, no way, they're too good. We're talking about from a fantasy perspective. Doesn't mean the Chiefs aren't going to win. It just means there could be a lot of points scored that game, right? Which is what we want. Another game, John. I know we're getting on personal time here, but how about San Francisco? Okay, going into the Motor City in Detroit, who they still stink. They haven't done anything. And the way that Kyle Shanahan has been formulating that offense out there in San Francisco, you got two receivers there in Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. I'm a big Ayuk fan. I'm Ayuk over Samuel. I don't know how you feel.
Oh, no, I'm Ayuk over Samuel, yeah.
Yeah.
Ayuk's a good special talent. He's great.
He's explosive. It really is. So you're looking at, and again, you have Mostert. Now, everybody's on the Trey Sermon wagon, right? And I think Trey Sermon's going to get some clock, but I don't think he's going to be good enough for you to be putting in your starting lineup.
Not day one.
Right.
Raheem Mostert, the only thing with him and why in season longs, it's like, maybe you wait a little bit, there's risk. It's because of injury. He's coming in healthy. So I think there is a good opportunity for a stack here. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, because Detroit, it's looked at, at least it's Dan Campbell, tough defense. No, this defense is flat out terrible. It's a horrible, they have no pass rush. I don't even know who's in their secondary other than Jeffrey Okudah, and he didn't even look great last year in his rookie year. So, Jimmy Garoppolo, that could be another one, take advantage of such a bad Detroit team where I think, you could see a team total of rushing yards of over 200, close to 300 yards for San Francisco.
Yeah, no, you're right. And this is why it's so much fun, John. This is why DFS is so much fun. You could put in 5 lineups, who knows? Have some fun with it. Let's make some money. Let's win some points here, win some stacks, have some fun with it, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking some week 1 DFS. So that is it. WinDailySports.com. Again, all these live streams are sponsored by the Sharp app. Download the Sharp app. Great stuff over there. Tony, you even have a few things going over at the Sharp app, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, man, I'm going to brag a little bit. I got the first show on the Sharp app to bang out like 500-600 views and nobody's talking about, right?
Can you help me out here? Yeah, I didn't know you had that kind of bump. Jeez.
Yeah, man, let's go, man. The Alternative Edge every Friday at noon. Okay, that's when it premieres. Yeah. We take a little bit of sports betting and a little bit of DFS put them together, and we just talk props. We talk about how basically the fantasy value makes the prop market go up and down. They're looking at each other, right? So we're going to analyze both positions. So last week we did a lot of season-long props. And we looked at how the preseason projections affected the week 1 props. Yeah. And this week, we're just going to go all in the week 1, 100%. So, again, Fridays at 12, and then on weekends, Saturday and Sundays, 12. I say 9 o'clock, but whenever Jigsaw decides to get his butt out of bed. But could be 10, who knows? Could be 9:30. But Fantasy Firebox every Saturday and Sunday as well. Saturday, we're going to be talking fantasy. Sunday, we're talking fantasy. So we got fantasy going all day. All weekend long, John Jansen.
Yeah, we do. So go to the Sharp app. All you got to do is sharp.app, learn more about it, but available on Google Play, available on the App Store for Apple. So check it all out. Go to your whatever app store you go to, download the Sharp app. And you can see Tony there giving you some good plays and props too. I like the props market for the NFL. That's always great.
Fun,
so
man.
Check out Alternative Edge. But that is it for us. WinDailySports.com. Make sure to subscribe. Gold membership. We're still having our NFL offer. If you put in the promo code NFL 2021 when you sign up, you can get $100 off a 6-month gold membership. So a $299 value down to $199. NFL 2021, you get all the gold membership stuff that we have the offer. That means the Discord chat. That means all the tools. I just saw one here. That's amazing. The NFL team totals tool, and it's adjusted totals that our guy Sticks Picks has put together too. It's fantastic. Check it out. It's awesome stuff. And it tells you, adjusted to what we think they're going to put up in their adjusted score for that week. It's amazing. It's an incredible app. So incredible tool. So go check it out. WinDailySports.com. Sign up for that. Also, make sure to subscribe right here on the YouTube channel, Win Daily Sports. And we'll be back tomorrow helping you set up. Oh, Tony, we're setting up a showdown lineup. We're actually talking about a game tomorrow. A game. We're actually talking. We're setting up a lineup and putting it in and watching it. It's amazing. I cannot wait. And we're doing that all tomorrow. Yeah, I know. See, I get that. Tony's going to be listening tomorrow.
Who's on we tomorrow?
Stoby. We're going to be setting up a showdown tomorrow. That'll be 5 o'clock right here. Nice. WinDailySports.com.